Hello, welcome. Thanks for stopping by again. We are going to cover some of the options that you have when you are creating a form with all the toggle buttons today. Now, I reference these throughout other videos, but I thought it'd be a good idea to have a single go-to video that kind of covers all of them. Okay, so I'll try to do this quickly and let's get going. All right, so I have a Google Sheet here. And this is a basic science quiz, some basic answers, some basic questions, the type of question, and then the answer options, the correct answers, points, and required. And you might notice right off the bat that I have one question here that's not required with no points, and that's because it's a linear scale. I'm not going to assign points to that, how confident you are. Are you in identifying types of rocks? I'm just getting opinions there. That's not a graded. Yeah, I would probably actually make that required, but I'm not going to assign points to it. Okay, I'm going to change this to the wide mode just so we can see it a little bit better. Now, when I come to build this, this is what I'm talking about are these toggles right here. Let's go through them one by one and just kind of talk about what each one does. I'm going to go ahead and turn all of them off. The first one is this build mode quiz mode. And what that's going to do is when your Google form is created, it's going to create it already as a quiz. You won't have to go in and change that manually. And I'll show you what that looks like. I have a different version of that test up here. And that's the wrong one. And if you go to the settings, you can see make this a quiz. You can turn that on and off right here. Basically what's happening is SheetFormR is doing that automatically. It's toggling that for you automatically when it's created, so you don't have to go and do it later. Just saves you a little bit of a step. The second one, create and link a new response sheet. So what that will do is create a Google Sheet tab down here that is going to track your kids' responses. Now, forms will also do that natively, and I can open a sheet right here and it will collect responses for me. But I can do that with my own sheet right here by clicking that. And what's cool about that is, and then again, I'm going to do this in another video. I'm not going to do this part. This is going to be too much for this video. If I come down to here, create roster sheet status, I can have students' information imported onto this sheet that it would be created by having that toggle checked. Okay, that's a little bit of an advanced feature, but not really. I think for most teachers are going to want that. So we'll play with that in another video. Just look for the video that is create roster status sheet, and you can watch how that's going to work. Okay, that's actually a really cool feature. Apply a title and a description. If I have that checked when I create the form, if you look right here, I have that. Let me just close that so I quit doing that. So if you look right here, basic science quiz, and that's where this is pulling this information from, is column A in that first cell right there underneath the form title. And that automatically assigns that title to the quiz, and it automatically assigns that title to your file name that is going to go into your Google Drive. So that way you can search it later and you know what the heck it is, because otherwise you're going to have endless amounts of forms that just say new form, new form 1, new form 2, and that's obviously confusing and clutters up your drive, and it's hard to find things in the future if you want to search for them. Okay, so that's what that toggle is going to do. I can create a classroom assignment. So Google or SheetFormR will automatically access your Google Classroom and create this assignment with this title name if you have this checked. And then from there, it won't push it out to students, but from there you can assign it to students manually. This is just saving you the step of going through and manually creating a Google Classroom assignment. And like I said, it will do that automatically. And if you look here, it's going to ask you what course you want it in. I'm going to load my courses real quick. I'm not going to go into this very far. And I have 2 periods set up in my fake Google Classroom for this. So I could choose either one of those that assignment is going to be created in. I'm not going to do that in this video. Again, that's going to be something that's in another video that I'll dedicate just this Google Classroom, creating a Google Classroom assignment with. Let's go down to the next one, append the date and time to the name. So if I click that, let's create this form. This will just take a few seconds, but I want to show you what's going to happen here. So it's also going to, I have the title and description. You can still see that a little bit. So it's going to create the title and a description if I have one in my Google Sheet. I don't have a description in this sheet. I just have the title. So it's not going to create a description. But if I had a description header, it would. So all it's going to do is apply the title. I'm going to go ahead and open this form. And you can see what happens here is it not only gives me the title and the title name, but it also says the date and the time that I created it. Now, I think lots of people will find this useful, especially when this is sitting in your Google Drive. I know for sure that I do, and I use it all the time because now I can go search things. And as I've said in a couple of other videos, you know, I may not need this test again this year, but I might need it last or next year or 5 years from now. Or I want to, you know, share this to another teacher on my campus or even another teacher friend of mine that's on a different campus. And it just helps keep things organized. So I like this a lot. And again, this is automatically done just by clicking that toggle when you have it, when you go to create your form. The question numbers, I think, is something that I don't know why you wouldn't want that on. I have it on everything I build. Let's go back to this. I didn't have it on this one, but let's go to this other one that I had built earlier. You can see that Google Forms does not include question numbers when you create, and there is no setting for that. Google Forms does not allow you to do that natively. I have no idea why. That's kind of silly to me, but they don't. So I built this into SheetFormR so I could have question numbers. If you look at a prior Google form that I built, not the one I just built, you can see that this has question numbers. And this is so beneficial when you have a kid at their desk and they say they're stuck on number 14 or something like that. The only other way to go find number 14 is to scroll down and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. And obviously that's annoying. It's ridiculous with a computer that you would have to do that. But so definitely want to have the question numbers toggle checked if you want to have that. And again, I don't know why you wouldn't. Shuffle answer choices. That will shuffle the order of the questions. I just did a video kind of going through that a lot that I'm not going to go and repeat all of it. Go to the preview video and I cover how to set up your answer choices and what that actually does. But basically, in a nutshell, shuffle answer choices will, when every time a Google form is pushed out to a student on their individual device, they will get a different order of answers than anybody else. Now, with, of course, only 4 option answer or answer options per question, yeah, some are going to be repeated. There's only so many variations you can have. But the chance of 2 kids sitting next to each other having the same it's possible, but it's slim. Okay, so, and that's just completely random. I don't have any way to control that. One thing that you could notice real quick that I will talk about that's also in that preview video, I go into a lot more detail than I am right here. But when I preview, you can see I have this text right here that, hey, shuffle answers is enabled. But the preview is going to look exactly like your spreadsheet. I just thought it was confusing to have it mixed up. And then every time you push out a form, like I said, it's a little bit different for every individual student. So the shuffling will not show up here. What is going to show up here in your preview is the question, the points, the answer options that you have, what is correct and is it required, and so on. But the shuffling's not. If I close that preview, so go down to the next one is shuffle the question order. And obviously that means exactly what it says. You know, one student could get the questions in the order of, 5, 8, 2, 1, 9, whatever. And another kid might get the order of 2, 7, 4, 10, 1, so on. And if I go to preview this, the same thing's going to happen. It's going to say that the order is the question, shuffle questions is enabled But when I look at the preview, it's just going to go in the order I have, just so it's a little bit easier for you to preview before you build that form. Again, I go into what that looks like and all the little features of that in the preview video. So go ahead and check that out if you want more information about those two functions. Sort by question number. This is something that I don't even know that it's really useful, to tell you the truth, but I put it on there because somebody mentioned it to me. So right now it's going to order these the order that it goes. If I want to manually change the order of that, I could come and let me switch to compact so I can modify this sheet. I could change the question numbers. So there's my header. That's what it'll be looking for. And let's say I manually want to control what numbers these come up as. Okay. Again, I just don't think this is very useful. I'm not going to lie. I hate to say that about my own product, but I don't know. It's something that somebody asked me for individually, so I did it. But I don't think most people are going to use that. Okay, let's go back to wide so we can see a little bit better. So anyway, that's what that does. Include images. There are going to be times where I want to attach an image, and I will add that URL over here in a column. And what that will do is tell SheetFormR, hey, don't forget to pull these images. There's images in this sheet. You have to pull those. Let me pull up a spreadsheet really quick that has images in it. Let me see here. I have all these hidden sheets. I know that this one does. So you can see here that I have images in this file right here, and this will show up in the test when I build a test. But if I don't have the include images checked, it won't pull it up. And the reason I have it on a toggle and not automatically is it takes a little bit of time for SheetFormR to go and retrieve these images from where they're being hosted. These are being hosted on my Google Drive. It's only a few seconds each, but it still slows down the build. And if people don't have images, there's no sense in sending SheetFormR to try to go find images that aren't there. It just makes everything go quicker for probably 90% of the time. You're not going to have an image in your folder. So I put it on a toggle so it would just speed up the normal build time if you're not using images. So that's why it's on a toggle, just to save everybody a little bit of time. Let's go back to my other sheet. And then the last one is going to be render math equations. I'm not even going to get into that at all right now. But if you've ever tried to type out math equations, even if it's something simple, you don't have to be a high school teacher or anything. If you're just teaching fractions, for example, you know that typing things like that, math terms and math equations is kind of tricky. So I have a feature built into SheetFormR where it is going to take what you type and turn it into a nice, beautiful PNG image of a math equation. And that would be having this toggled will tell SheetFormR to render that math equation rather than just kind of try to make what you got by using keyboard keys. And as you know, there's not keyboard keys for all the different math equations that you have. This is something I'm definitely going to have to do a separate video on. It's way too much to put into a quick video like this. Okay, so look for that math equation rendering video if you want to use that. The last thing here is the row selection. If I keep it blank, which it is right now, this is just suggestions. There's nothing in here. It's going to build the whole form, all the questions I have here. And it doesn't matter if I have one question or 1,000 questions here. Let me pull up another sheet real quick so you can kind of get an idea of what I mean. So this is a book that I read all the time called Hatchet, and I have the whole book here. I have each individual chapter. I have a test for chapters 1 through 10 and a test for chapters 11 through 19 and the epilogue. So when I go to build this, I obviously don't want to build this entire form. And if I just click create form right now, it is going to build the entire form because it doesn't know that I don't want that. I have to tell it. And that's what this is for. This is very much like a printer dialog paper or a page. So I'm going to type in here what I want to build. I only want to build these rows right here. Let's say I'm going to only test them on chapter 2. So I only want to build from rows 13 to 22. So I would just come over here and I'm going to build rows 13 and 22. SheetFormR is going to ignore everything else on here. and not build those things. For some reason, if you don't know how this works, if you've never done this on a printer before, let's say that I want to do 13 through 22, and I want to throw in one question from the prior chapter. Let's say I'm going to throw in number 5 from the last chapter, and that is on row number 6. So I could come here. I don't have to delete that, but I am. I could go 6, comma, to separate that, and then 13 through 22. So it's going to build off row 6 and skip all the rest until it gets to 13 and build everything from 13 to 22. Okay, and I think that was going to be a pretty handy feature for some of you people who have, especially you guys that teach high school or something like that, or middle school, where you might have a whole book test of questions or geography or something like that, and you have it all on one Google Sheet. Or now you're going to build it on one Google Sheet where you can just choose what you want to put into a certain assessment. And again, if I delete all that, and now it's going to build this whole form, which I don't want to do on this. Okay, so that's all the build features at a quick version of that. Play with that, see what you like. Let's go up here real quick. I just thought about this. Let's talk about these two features right, or these two toggles right here. Since these don't have anything to do with the build, I'm going to change back to my science quiz. Where is it? I know it's right in front of my face. There it is. Okay. So all the AutoMap does is every time I change the sheet, so right now it's going to build off the basic science sheet, even though that's not what's right here that I'm looking at. And I can choose any of these sheets. If you notice up here, I had a bunch of sheets hidden, so it's not all cluttered down here. But if I wanted to build a basic fraction test, and I'm confident that that sheet is fine, if you notice, it ran the AutoMap, and every time I change this sheet, it's going to run the AutoMap. Automatically. It's running it right now. I didn't click anything. All I did was change the sheet that I want it to build from. And what's happening is it's remapping every single time so it knows where the questions is, because all my sheets are a little bit different. If I have that on, it will do that. If I turn it off and I change sheets, if you notice, nothing's going to happen right here. Nothing's being mapped because I told it don't map it on a sheet change. I always have it mapped on a sheet change. It's just something, otherwise I forget to do it. Okay, so I can leave that on, and this is going to remember all of my choices that I have right here. So for me, I create everything with these selected. I usually have this toggled. The other ones I kind of use as I'm going, but these 4 right here are always for sure that I'm going to use every single time I make a sheet. The title, the date and time, and the question numbers, and I always want it as a quiz. Okay, so that's the quick version of all of these. Hopefully you can play with those and see which ones work for you. Like always, if you have a question, you have a feature suggestion, or something's just not working for you correctly and you think I can make it better or add something, man, I would love to hear that. You can always email me. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can, I promise. All right, thanks.